That's a good start. Surprisingly, that didn't spill. Alright. Alright. So. I'm gonna try and fix up some of this stuff, but before I do that, let me fix up the background here. We need a little bit of a mix-up here. Fuzz in the way. But yeah, today I'm gonna try and put in what I kind of just glossed over or forgot about. Like the arms here, they aren't quite correct. The hands don't have any fingers, and the hair is kind of missing, as is the face and the bow. So that's kind of what I'm gonna try and focus on today. Try and touch up the space background a bit too. And do bear with me. It's been a long night. Didn't get as much sleep as I could have, but yeah, that's kind of life, I guess. Let's go with the smaller brush for this. This guy here. Something on the canvas. Sorry, just refocus here. Oh yeah, in other news, I've managed to repair my controller. I've been having controller drift for like the longest time. Finally drove me crazy to the point where I couldn't use it anymore. It was always being a problem. It wasn't like horrible, but it was just consistent enough to just drive me crazy. And so I brought it to work and was hoping to be able to swap out the joysticks from one controller to the other. one that was functionally not working, but I believe had good joysticks, to the one that was mostly good but just had one issue. That was the idea, that was the goal. But when I was taking it apart and trying to get to it, the joystick was soldered onto the board with 12 different connections, which is a lot for a single piece to take off. And I would have had to do that twice. Once for the replacement piece and once for the oh, come on, get out. There we are. And once for the actual one, so I could put the replacement in there. Well, I started with a replacement, and I'm really glad I did that. A bit of practice first to try and get it going, and it didn't really go very well. Soldering and desoldering is a very different process. It's really easy to solder. Desoldering is a lot harder. Oh, come on. Because in order to desolder anything really, you have to oh, come on there. Soldering is basically the taking metal and heating it up and attaching it to other pieces of metal and then letting it cool so it's a solid connection. That in itself is the simplest form of soldering. However, it's a lot easier said than done because solder doesn't always like going places. And you can't just grab it. You gotta use a heat gun, and it has to get really hot, or the iron, or whatever you have available. Solder has to get really hot, really hot. And the only tool I have available to get the solder off of the joint is called a solder braid, which is literally just a braided piece of copper metal, and it apparently attracts the solder easier than the piece you're working on, or something. I don't actually know the specifics for it. Stop. But yeah, it didn't work too well. I was trying really hard. Like the main issue is you can get the solder, like all the main parts off, but solder has a the circuit board. You can put a piece through it and then solder it. So that way it has like a blob here holding it in. But sometimes the solder gets on the other end, and so you're trying to get the solder out from here, but you have to get the heat all the way through the board, all the way to the other end, and then grab that piece and bring it out this end. It doesn't work that way. Nobody ever taught me how to desolder. I've been doing it the best way I know how on my own. And it kind of sort of works. Mostly it doesn't. But yeah, soldering, putting the piece on is a lot easier. You take the piece, put it on, get some solder, stab it on there, piece is now on. You're done. Ta-da! But desoldering drives me nuts. I hate it. Well, that's the other part of desoldering. Since you're using heat to take apart the component, you have to make sure that you don't melt the same component you're trying to work on, because sometimes they're made of plastic or some such. If you do it wrong, you'll melt the piece. You may have gotten it free, but now you can't use it because you broke it. Yay! So yeah. Anyway, with the controller, I did my best to get as many of the points off as I could, but they still didn't want to budge. It didn't want to come out. It's like, fine, whatever. I go, let's see if there's some easier way to do this. Somebody's trying something else in a YouTube video. Maybe they can show me a trick to get it all out. I look it up, and apparently there's a much simpler, much easier, and absolutely more trivial way of fixing my problem than trying to resolder it. Apparently, the joystick has a the joystick has a little two axes, one going the x-axis, and one going the y-axis. And what happens is when you push the joystick forward, they've got a little bar here that rotates. Okay, and when that rotates, it is measured on a gauge off to the side. Well, apparently, the PS4 controllers, you can just like pop those off to the side and pull out the piece, clean it up, put the piece back, and pop it into place, and you're done. So I popped it open, pulled the piece out, cleaned out the debris in there, put it back in place, closed it up, and I was done. So I had been sitting there for hours trying to desolder all these solder points on the controller, and it's like, this isn't working. This is not gonna work. This isn't gonna work. And to be honest, it kind of didn't work. And so I went with the other way. That happened to be a million times easier. Actually, do what it was needed to be done, and I didn't have to do anything all that difficult. Probably should have done that before I started, but I got stuck in the mindset that it's a hardware issue, and the only way I can do it is replacing the entire piece, which wasn't entirely true. So yeah, it's do a bit of research before you like dive head first into something, because you never know, there might be something really idiot simple that you can just do, save you a hell of a lot of time. Oh, also we had another very bizarre repair job. Well, in and of itself, the whole task wasn't odd. It all worked out. This guy brought in a phone, and he wanted the screen, the earpiece, and the microphone for the phone replaced because they weren't working. So okay, I can do that. Yeah, I've done stuff like that all the time. That's literally my job. I just take those pieces apart. I've never done it so much on a single phone, but yeah, sure, I can do that. Drops it off, and I get to it, put it back together, and back to him. Here you go, buddy. I couldn't test the microphone because you didn't have a SIM card. Meaning I couldn't make a phone call. I physically couldn't call to see if I made any noise. And I wasn't gonna go mucking about his phone for ways to do that. I don't like being nosy that way. So I get back to him, and should work. I just wasn't able to test it. All right. Well, I get a call not too long later that apparently it didn't work. The phone doesn't make any noise, and well, the piece I put in there was good. I know I have it replaced. If it's not that, it's probably a software issue. Try looking it up that way. Okay, thanks, buddy. I'll look into it. Hangs up. Get a call a little bit later. This time he's like, okay, so I'm calling the Apple support guys on another phone with my friend, and they say apparently they want to know if you used genuine Apple parts. I think I did. I can't quite tell if the parts are or are not genuine Apple products, but I've never had a problem with them. Okay, thanks. Bye. Get a call back a little bit later. Okay, so Apple is calling me that and telling me that they won't repair the phone if it doesn't have genuine Apple products, Apple parts. What? Yeah, if I send it in and they have any parts in there that aren't actually Apple genuine, they'll just close it up and hand it back to me and not do any repair work. So yeah, the official Apple products do not do any repair work on a phone if it has any non-genuine parts in it. So I had to find out the parts I took out, hand them back to the guy. Well, get ready to hand them back to you. I haven't done that yet. He hasn't picked them up. And then he's going to send it off to Apple to try and get them to fix it again. Because sometimes their phone doesn't like non-genuine parts or something. This is the first time I've ever had an issue like that. And it's just, it doesn't need to be that way. I've never had that issue before, ever. But yeah, so it's a weird policy. But you learn something new every day, I guess. And it's kind of stuff like that that I really don't like. Practices like that. It's the only real reason I could see any company doing something like that is so that you discredit standard repair shops like me. Oop, I missed a spot over there. Because they can still physically fix the phone with the repaired part and just charge somebody for it. Hey, you didn't have a genuine part in here, so we replaced it for you. Here you go. Here's the bill. That would be simple and easy enough, but no, they straight up will not touch it with a non-genuine part. And I don't get it. People be weird. People be very weird sometimes. Oh yeah, and some other oddball news. Apparently, Microsoft has just bought Bethesda Studios for like $7.5 billion or some crazy amount like that, which was unexpected, and I don't know what's going to happen with that. Because Bethesda is a very bizarre studio, and they've been surviving so far off, honestly, nostalgia for a lot of their stuff. And they can make the next Elder Scrolls game, but now that Microsoft owns it, I don't know if it'll be any good. Because Microsoft has ruined quite a lot of things. Most notably, at least for me, was the Banjo-Kazooie series. Banjo-Kazooie was owned by and created by Rare. And so they made the games for the N64, and then Microsoft bought out Rare, I believe, and they're bought out Banjo-Kazooie works as well. And Banjo-Kazooie, for those unfamiliar, is a platformer game. You run around, jump up, collect puzzle pieces and musical notes and a bunch of odd, silly little things. And the characters are all very characterized and heavily stylized. Oh, hello. They have a new Banjo-Kazooie. Yeah. That's what I'm getting at. And Microsoft created a new game called Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. Years, I think even 10 plus years. They made it for the 360, I think, was the game they pulled it out on. And it was a kart building racing game. Completely unrelated to Banjo-Kazooie, but that's what they apparently thought it was about. And so it's just, why did you go in that direction? What did you do? And then they heavily restylized every character. Banjo turned into a brick, apparently. For no real explainable reason, but that's what they decided to go with. I don't know, I didn't have the 360 and I didn't play it, and I wanted a platform game, so it was just a very strange game. I can't discredit the gameplay or anything like that because I've never played it, but yeah. But some racing is involved. Alright. Give me just 2 seconds. Trying not to blob the paint in places. There we are. Alright. Okay. Making progress. Very cool, huh? Right, maybe well, I might give it a shot, but I have no console to play it on. It's a Microsoft only IP at the moment. I don't have an Xbox system. A lot of cool cars, huh? Well, I guess one of the other, excuse me, one of the issues, I've never been overly good with creative, fancy ship, car, whatever building things. Some of the other people, I know they can be. For instance, in Kingdom Hearts. Feel that making cards would help them out in the game. Yeah, it's yeah, in the game Kingdom Hearts, you could make a gummy ship. They had no real functional use, but you had to go through space battles and stuff, and you can build it out of blocks. And you had like a 10, 15 by 15 by 15, whatever the size was, area to make a ship, and you had points and values. All the ships me and my brother ever made were gun cubes, because it didn't need to be any particular shape or feature or whatever. You could quite literally just put gun, and make a cube out of mostly guns with the minimal required parts of whatever. And then you just go through the level and blow everything up. It works. It was not appealing in the least. It was just a brick, but with guns that shot everything. But it worked. Yeah, maybe it's yeah. Well, one of the things for me is not just that game, but kind of in general, where I see it in stories and movies, and this is an example of the game where they have an original concept for something, but they decide to take other characters and convert it into the idea, as opposed to starting a new IP. And what it ends up doing is alienating the original fans, because that's not what they wanted, and it kills off the IP because any new fans think this is what it should be, and it just causes a mess, and it's weird. It's like you can see it from a marketing perspective, and it's like you can always see it from a marketing perspective. Well, this was popular. This is what people think we should do. So let's put those two together, and we'll get double as popular, right? That's how it mathematically works. No. You could apply that same sentence to food. Pineapples are popular. Pizzas are popular. Put the two together, will be double as popular, correct? Not really, apparently. I have no side one way or the other. It's just a topping, whatever. But I know some people absolutely hate it. And by not understanding whatever the hell you're doing, you lead to really weird, bizarre situations like that. And the other aspect is a lot of those stories and such, just they have to steal the character and then change it into something that they feel is better. But by abandoning the original concept, I can't say anything for Nuts and Bolts because, again, it was an Xbox game, and when I saw they were trying to make a kart game, I kind of lost interest, and it was very jarring. Which concept? Platformers or the kart game adventure that they made? Which part would get still? No, can't. Potentially. But I don't know. It's weird. Yeah, it's Banjo-Kazooie adventure platforming concept. Well, one of the issues with good platforming is that it takes a lot of effort to design properly and effectively, rather. Like for instance, the Crash Bandicoot games, which I'm a fan of, they had mechanically sound and very, very tight controls for that game, and the originals anyway. And they had to plan how far the jumps were, how to make it interesting, all the different levels and the designs and all this stuff. They had to make it all work. You couldn't just slap some of the stuff on there and, hey, look, a level. You had to make it actually function and whatnot. But nowadays, if you take another example like Super Mario 64, a similar one, that one is a lot less well, intended to be a lot less precise with the controls. You just kind of run around and adventure things. It's different. Added racing flying, yeah. Alright. So just trying to adapt your kart to the situation to make it a little different. Alright, I can see that. But yeah, I know. Well, maybe part of it is they just like changed too much. They changed the main adventure thing to now involve heavily this kart aspect instead of the characters themselves, and they also changed the style to something very, very different. I think the combination of that really set off fans more so than if they just had a similar style with a new mechanic. But yeah, it's platforming is a very challenging genre to get to do well. You can have a platformer that is just kind of mediocre, just a couple platforms here and there, wherever, and then here you go, platformer, right? But the really good ones have a lot of effort put into it, and things hidden out in places and stuff. I don't know. I'm not a game developer. Technically, I did make one, but I'm not a modern developer. But it's oh, cool, good. I know it's. I don't think I'll ever try it, not because I don't want to, but I'd have to get a 360 or get a system and the game to play it, which is already kind of long gone. But, I may give it a shot one day if I ever get the chance to. Alright, so. But yeah. Inventing is, from a business standpoint, very difficult, time-consuming, and risky. So, yeah, inventing is not just people don't like it, but it gets actively discouraged from a business standpoint. If you ever look at like some of the movies, oh, there's also other issues. Trial and error kind of thing. They can, but yeah, that's weird. Platforming is in a weird state. It does really well with like 2D platformers, because that's one of the most basic ways you can make a game. Just a hop and bop and do some stuff. But for 3D, you have to think in a lot of different ways. Technically, an example of a really bad 3D platformer, technically, are the Sonic games. They mechanically function poorly, and a lot of issues with them. But technically, they could be considered a platformer of sorts. I don't know. I think platforming as a genre hit a lot of flaws, and because I really do love that aspect when it's done well, and adventuring. Yeah, I think I only played like 2 of the 3D games. Like it was like Adventure and Heroes, or Adventure Battles 2, maybe one of them. And yeah, it's I never quite liked the Sonic series either myself. It was okay, but that was it. Psychonauts, yeah, that's a good one. That one actually also has not just platforming stuff. And actually, thinking back on it, its level design is a little underperforming, but they make up for it a bit with a lot of the character and the atmosphere in the game. But yeah, that's one of my I won't call it a favorite, but it's really high up there on the list. Oh yeah, wait, part 2? I think I remember hearing something about that. I don't know. I don't keep track on gaming news as much as I used to. Hell, I've literally got like magazines back there from when I had Electronic Gaming Monthly. Is how I used to have video games information given to me. Trailer's out, huh? Might give that a look. See where we can get with that. You need yeah, trailers. I don't know. It's I think actually just currently it's not just like a few games. It's like the gaming scene in general is very lackluster and bizarre, and I don't quite know specifically why. But I'm not overly interested in a lot of games nowadays. It's like it's been a very long time since I've been truly interested in a game to come out, and it's just they're all kind of samey, and there's nothing really innovative or inventive in anything nowadays. It's maybe I'm just not playing any of the right games. Yeah, some of my favorites are ones that actually pushed the envelope and made like a whole new adventure thing. Plot. Plot or plot. But yeah, it's story-wise, I do pretty well. I like those aspects of it. But still, for a game, you need more than just a story. You need a bit more too as well. But yeah, games have just. I think the games have become too formulaic because I grew up with the consoles coming out originally. I originally had an NES. My dad got it, and I was too young to really remember that era. But I grew up with the Super Nintendo, N64, PlayStation, etc., etc. But I played games, and each time it was a new game. It was an entirely new concept. I had Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. It was a big old adventure map. You could go over and like explore just about anything in there and collect all the stuff. And then there was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You could go around and beat up bad guys in a brawler, side scroller. It was really fascinating. Cyberpunk game, you know. Yes, blowing it out of proportion. I think there's a little bit of that too. It's part of it is, I think it's been in development for a long time, and people have had expectations just pile up in the meantime. But yeah, Link to the Past Turtle game was a brawler style. Crash Bandicoot was a platformer, a unique one, and then Spyro came out with a 3D collectible platformer. Final Fantasy VII came out, which was a huge change in how things worked. The games were always new, and an entirely new genre was put into place. And now, the only real new genre is Battle Royale, which is more of a subgenre of shooter type games, or Dark Souls style, which is kind of, again, a subgenre. There's nothing really new. 2006? Which one was that? I had a GameCube one for Turtles. Was that the one? No, I think that was a bit earlier than 2006. Which one was 2006? I can't remember that one. But they've redone that series. It's the movie one. CGI movie one. Oh. Okay, yeah. It's I haven't seen that or done anything with that series or that version of it. Because I think also in 2006, yeah, that's when we moved here, and we weren't quite in a shape to, one, go watch movies, or two, buy any games, because we didn't have any electricity at the time. So yeah, it was a bit of a off time there. Alright, you know what? Let's get a little bit more right here. Alright, that's decent enough. Let's try this. Here. Soften up the edge there a little bit. But yeah, it's that's with like the full CGI like bodysuit type stuff, right? Dark beard. Yeah, it's even with the CGI, I still prefer the original Turtle movies. Alright. Yeah, it's I had a dark beard at that time. I just didn't have much new. Most gaming I did for like that year and was with my Game Boy, with games I've already played to hell and back. Namely, I think it was Pokemon and Wario Land 4, I think is what we used. As well as Game & Watch Gallery. I got really stupid good at that game. Yeah, my favorite one was Manhole. If you're unfamiliar with it, Game & Watch Gallery was a old Game Boy not color, Game Boy, the original Game Boy game. And I got it when I got my Game Boy, actually. I picked up my Game Boy at a yard sale. It's like 20 bucks or some stupid amount. And it came with a couple of games. Super Mario World, or whatever the hell it was for the Game Boy. Game & Watch Gallery, Tennis, which I tried to be good at, but it was just weird. And I think a couple others that I didn't really pay much attention with. I've got a brick too. It's missing like the glass panel on the top, but it's still functional. It's like literally, yeah, I'm gonna go grab it. Be right back. Here it is. And it took 4 AA batteries. This thing was a beast. And I bet if I put batteries in there, it would boot up just fine and run perfectly. It's made of Nintendium. But yeah, some pretty good memories on that thing. But then the color came out, and that was actually amazingly different. The color, it's like, oh my god, it's got color. Look at this, guys. That Pikachu is actually yellow. And you know, that is a weird thing. Today's generation has no idea how important color is. They know of black and white TVs. I've actually seen and watched and viewed black and white TV. I used to have one at my parents' shop. It was kind of just like one that was in the area, and it had like 8 channels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I used to watch PBS on that thing after school. But yeah, and it's like today's generation, they just have no idea how much we had to work without color, or how hard it was to get something shiny and all that stuff. Because yeah, color made a huge difference. But yeah, and all these small little innovations. And one of the other things is, every so often I boot up an old game, one that I've enjoyed for a while, and play through it again. And I realize those games have aged, and I've gotten used to current graphic settings, and it's weird. Like, for instance, old arcade games, Pac-Man and whatnot, or like Adventure. I didn't quite play any of those. Again, a little before my time. But those are very heavily pixelated and like barely considered graphics sometimes. And if you try to get a modern generation kid to play some of those, you're like, this is stupid. What is this? And it's you can see just the how much something has changed. And like a current generation game, hell, even some indie developers can have like fully rendered, good-looking 3D models just like tossed into there, and it's honestly amazing. Because like, going back to Crash Bandicoot is a very, very pivotal game in like everything it introduced and how it worked. They had to struggle to get the proper pixel size on that guy to get him to fit on the disc and whatnot. So, and his animations, they had to work hard at making sure they weren't overly complicated because they couldn't handle it. And so they were very, very, very limited on what they were able to do. Yet modern developers nowadays can just toss things in. It's like, oh, that didn't work. Just get more memory here. Just put more out there. It'll work. And even the worst functioning looking game is still miles better, technically speaking, from a older style game. But what I find is really interesting is often how games that do stand the test of time tend to be stylized games. Master Blaster for the NES. Master Blaster, that sounds familiar. For the NES, what they do with it? Yeah, I didn't have many games at all for the NES. I had Legend of Zelda, which I still have the console, or the game over there. Those big old gold cartridges. I've got one of those. I think that's the only NES game I've still got around. I did, at the time, have a Ninja Turtles NES game. And I can't remember any other ones. It was like, I had it when I was younger, but I never did anything with it. Kid with his frog and the rolling tank. That's not ringing any bells. Yeah, the NES era, I technically was there for, but I don't remember much about it. I remember mostly the Super Nintendo and up. Alright, cool. Well, I should probably start writing some of these things down. Okay, music. Psychonauts 2. Trailer. Banjo and Kazooie. Nuts and bolts. Master Blaster. Alright. Take a look at those when I get the chance. Alright. I think that's good for the blue. Oop, got the hand here. Missing a spot. I should probably get the other color paint in there. But yeah, going back to the topic, yeah, style is what tends to stand the test of time, because there's a lot of like older games that tried to be realistic, like original Call of Duty games is a decent example, or some like odd military funded games that try to get actual training done. They were actually a thing, but a lot of military based games tried to be really realistic. But if you were to look back on them now, they are actually really bad. They've got like block people and pointed arms and like potato faces and all sorts of stuff like that. And they just look bad. But it's games where they have an actual style that they're able to keep coming back to, keep things actually from dying off. Because one of them is Team Fortress 2 is actually a perfect example. That game came out in 2007? Something like that. It's been out for a long time, but it's still technically competing with some of the modern ones out there. Even though the graphics haven't really advanced all that much, it's still the same series, the same look, but barring hats and things, but it's same style. Even though it's graphically inferior to most everything else, it's the style stands the test of time, and it's able to do well. Or hell, A Link to the Past, the one I was talking about before. That's a very simple game, and the style is what carries it through. And style adds a hell of a lot. You need more than just style. There are a lot of pretty looking games, but no substance. And then but once you're able to get like that good looking style with good gameplay, that's when things like just take off. I think it's that balance that gets really hard to achieve, why there's so few truly good games out there. I think that's one of the reasons I like Dragon's Crown, Dragon's Crown, but Vanillaware games. They have a very distinct, absolutely distinct style. Their games are pretty good, but a little short. I think they invested too heavily in the style category, not enough in the gameplay aspect, but they hold up pretty well. They do get forgotten after a while, but that is actually kind of natural. Which technically in and of itself is a bit of an odd thing. Just yes and no. Things go out of style, and it's like I see it happening faster and faster, and it's really kind of bizarre. The biggest example currently is not actually video games, but phones. Yeah, at Radio Shack we sell phones, and I can finally fix that little spot right there. Oh, I think I need to mix that up a little actually. But phones, we have. Where did you come from? There you go. Got 9 we have just so many models of. I think they all came out this year alone. Short these days. Well, it's. I agree. But it's weird seeing why. And part of it, I think, is the internet. And the availability of everything. Because if you look at it from a just a I don't even know what you would call it perspective, but if you look at it this way, we have 1-day delivery from anything around the world. Thereabouts. You can get just about anything at any time. And so, if it's not happening now, you're being ineffective with how you're doing things. Like, oh yeah, I could wait a couple of days for this thing, but then I'd be missing out on something. And so, give me a sec here, clean this up. You know, I'd probably go with a different brush. And it's as a result of like being so many things being available right now and at the time. It just falls down to, why would I do it the less effective way if a more effective way is available? And that applies to games and I guess fads as well. Because why would I play this old game that nobody's interested in when all the new stuff is out there? I'm technically not doing anything effective for myself. It's like a simple way of the mindset, I guess. And that's, I think that kind of just thought process is forcing everyone to go into now. The other one is just the sheer amount of things out there. Because like I wouldn't be able to play, see, or like do any of this stuff in my lifetime. There's just so much shit out there, I can't experience it all. So in the so in trying to make things actually work, you gotta try this, yeah. Movies, TV, and video games. Yeah, it's like A TV is a perfect example. There's like on standard modern TV, there's hundreds of channels that you can look through. Not all of them are interesting, but if like you watch a channel, if you could sit there and actually watch commercials, you're wasting time. Flip to the next show, watch that. The show lost interest, okay, flip to the next show. There's just so much out there that any living without watching something and like I can live with a couple of inconsistencies. It's like no, try something else, and always being the most optimal, most effective way of doing something tends to be shifting to the next item, and it's not a sustainable mindset. Well, the other ones is actually with video games and the whole piracy problem, because a lot of video game companies consider it a success if they can defer pirates for a day or a couple of days. If they can stop a pirate for a couple of days, they consider their anti-piracy a success. Think about that. A fully cracked game in like a couple of days is a fully fledged success in their eyes, because that's how long they expect the game to last. Work it, make it. Okay, release it. It's sold 1 million copies. On to the next one. Work, make it. Sell it. Release 1 million copies. And they're just working at. And most of the game sales happen day one when it gets released, apparently. And so they are focusing on that day one sale value. And after that point, they really don't care, unless it's a subscription model and they can milk it. I think I need a brighter skirt. I think hers is too dark for. Maybe that's the base layer and I'll brighten it up later. Alright, so what's next? Oh yeah, I was gonna try and work on the bow. It's a true video game wrote by a game. And part of it is, I don't know. It's just such a weird era and situation we're in nowadays. Okay. So she's got a bow on the back. Let me see. What's it look like? I think I might have to search this one up. If it's a true video game or buy a game. That's the other thing. It's I'll go on a different tangent. I have issues with give me a sec. No, those are all the front ones. Front. There we are. Okay, so just a standard little bow. Okay, I can go with that. But I have issues with fanboys or diehard loyalists. It's honestly not healthy for anybody involved to be a diehard loyalist. Alright, I've got this picture here and I gotta flip it up and position it and then okay, but like the people who are like Nintendo only fans or Xbox only fans or Sony whatever fans, and they will only buy this console and everyone else is an idiot, and then they continuously just do nothing but buy from this one company. This company can do no wrong. You're not really helping anybody that way. It's give me a sec. This actually should probably be a little back in like that. And the bow should be about here, so it comes out there. Well, is this, wait, this is on top of the skirt. So this would be, I gotta redo the skirt. It wouldn't be sitting here. It would be sitting technically underneath the skirt, pushing it out. I gotta redo that. Oh well. Extreme sports freaks, you only have one team. Yeah, yeah, that kind of thing. I gotta redo that. Shit. Well, it is what it is. Let's shift gears. Give me 1 sec. I'm gonna maybe that would require just. But yeah, the extreme fans. What ends up happening is they end up. Okay. They end up just like it almost ends up being like a cult, where they only support it. It's like praise be to Nintendo or whatever the hell it is. I'll just use Nintendo as an example, and it's like you can point out flaws and problems. No, you're just being hateful. You're not a true fan. And honestly, a true fan, someone who enjoys the works, doesn't allow imperfections and flaws to be overlooked. Some maybe, yeah. It's like, okay, it's first shot. Give it a sec. They had issues, something like that. Fair enough. But when they have can do no wrong, have no flaws, things like that, you're overlooking flaws for a idolized version of something, and it's not healthy for you or for them, because for them you're allowing poor behavior to continue. You're proving that they don't have to care about you to make you spend money. Hey, I dislike that very much so. And I've never been a diehard fan. I never have been. I think I used to be a pretty dedicated fan for Valve. I have since lost that. I can't stand for them anymore. They make decent games. They made decent games. Anything current is I've just not played. Yeah, the last game that they technically made was Left 4 Dead 2, maybe? Yeah, ones that they made themselves was like Half-Life. Everything else was bought and carried over. But I would still see fans saying that Half-Life 2 is the best game ever. Some those people worshippers. Yeah, that's basically what it is. It turns into a odd form of worship, which is very, very strange when you really start thinking about it. And it's kind of a modernized religion without being a religion. And it's not healthy putting that much faith and devotion into a just a normal human of any sort, game or anything. They are people. That is what they are. Alright, so I gotta figure out how to draw a hand real quick here. But it's, even in the best of times, even if you were to praise them for being such an awesome, wonderful, benevolent person, it still doesn't do any good, because you're just inflating an ego. It may or may not be deserved, but once something gets to that level of fame, they have to be grounded in reality. Otherwise, they will likely become corrupted. It just happens that way. And I hate to see it happen. That phrase in Batman, you either die a hero, live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Once somebody, going off on a weird tangent, humans are incredibly adaptive, and it's very scary sometimes. Because if you have people in power, they can become used and accustomed to that power. And once they have that and they're accustomed to it, they don't want to lose it. And so they work very hard at trying to maintain it. Not just in political, but in business, financial, or even just relationship style. I think this is a little too high. There we are. Ish. Let's sort that out. And she needs a thumb there. You need a thumb here. Maybe. This is what happens when I just don't work from an exact reference. I get all these problems here. And media especially. Yeah. It's media is a big one. And we could go down the conspiracy rabbit hole if you want to, but I'll abstain from that for now. But yeah, media, Twitch streamers, yeah, that's a really bad one. I've seen examples of it. Some main Twitch girls, I've seen some like horrible abuses of power. Then levels of favoritism that just straight up blatant. I can't miss 1 second. I think one of the terms for that is simps. Because it honestly does. It just amazes me. I will flat out never get to that level of fame or popularity. I can like bet my life savings on that. Because if you'll notice, a lot of those also tend to be female ones. Yeah. Yeah, the term for a lot of those people is simps, I believe is the current modern one. Where, like, it generally refers to males, and it's short for, I can't remember what it actually, stands from, but it's people who spend thousands and, like, their entire life savings, so a girl will call their name. They called my name, I spent $10,000 and they called my name, yay! No, that's bad. But yeah, the Twitch, I don't understand that mindset. I can see it, that somebody craves their attention that much. I can see that gut. Is my name? And thank you. Yeah, it's very bizarre, and I just don't understand. I can see it. It's a cry for attention and a problem with, I think, potentially society at large for some of that stuff, where if you really look at it, men are very disposable, and insanely less value than a female. I'm not trying to be sexist, but the top streamers of like any category tend to be female because they have wanted attributes. And I flat out cannot compete with that, so I don't even try. But yeah, it's yeah, and it's like one of the things that I don't get is where the hell are all these people getting that much money? It's like, how are they living out of a box only? Because, like, I have bills and things they gotta fix and pay for. It's like, where are they getting that much money every time? And it's like, or I've seen, yeah, exactly. It's or people who, a slightly less destructive term is cosmetics in games. It's like, my dad talks about it, and he doesn't quite understand why people would spend so much money for cosmetics in games. My dad's the guy who will go through a game and not pay a dime and be really proud that he was able to get to the whatever rank or level without actually spending money. But then he's standing next to guildmates and whatnot who have spent a couple $100s a month trying to get different skins for things. And he's like, why? I don't get it. And it's just, but yeah, where are they getting that much money? It's because obviously they aren't quite making logical decisions. They're making very emotional based decisions. So, but what job would pay such money to a person like that? It's just, I don't understand it, because I can't think of it. It's, those kind of people are all over, and it just, I don't know where they're getting it. Maybe they're getting into debt with a credit card, or pushing them into financial ruin that way. Those people in general just are toxic. They're like you were saying before, the term worshippers or the obsessed. That's where they that's kind of what they are. They're very obsessed with a specific thing. An obsession of any sort is very dangerous. But one of the other, give me a second, problems is that obsession and dependence can happen with anything. It ends up being an addiction of sorts. So instead of being with drugs or something, it's Twitch streamer attention that they're basing it off of. And a lot of those people tend to be very toxic and starved for attention. And I can see part of it. They either are abandoned or nobody cares for them, and so that little bit of attention means a very large amount to them. But it's not healthy, and it won't change. But because that doesn't justify some of the actions they take. I can't quite explain it, but people so starved for attention they're willing to bankrupt themselves in order to attain it. And if you're trying to explain to them it's a bad thing, I can see them becoming so dependent, reliant on that way of thinking that they won't change. There was this guy who sued Twitch not too long ago. An official Twitch claim for Twitch exacerbating his sexual addiction to Twitch streamers. Or he had an addiction to that stuff, and Twitch was enabling him to do it, and he sued them for millions of dollars or whatever. And not once did he ever think it was him. I'm imagining. He can't be wrong, so he has to be him. Yeah, and it's a horrible mess. Like, that is an example of what it would be. as Twitch as a business, as a income, you follow the money. If I were to do this for profession, money, I would not be doing what I'm currently doing. I would have to be doing something very different, or treating this very differently. But I would have to be incentivizing, pay me money, do this, I'll do this, pay me money, whatnot. I would have to follow the money. And for streamers like that, they can't do the crafts because that doesn't make money, but they do these stupid things that makes money, so follow that. And so it just leads to a bad situation for everybody involved. Mostly. Humiliating yourself, yes. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna be me. Whatever that happens to be, I'm gonna be it. And for now, it's currently me painting Sailor Moon. I like this chill atmosphere. I like this non crazy well, we talk about crazy things, but the non like standard Twitch chat for like people who have thousands of viewers, where it's just memes and emotes and yelling and random shit. It's I'd feel bad for some of that too, but I've learned one of the other things for me is you can't help everybody. You flat out cannot help everybody. If like one of the ways I like visualized it way back when was, if I took all the money I had and shared it with every possible person in the world I could, everybody would get like 1/100th of a penny, and that doesn't help anybody. I give out everything I possibly can, but everyone in the world gets something so insignificant they don't even care. So it's not about how many people you can help, it's about helping people that you care about. You can help out a few in significant ways, but trying to help everybody will be in insignificant ways. Bad way to say it, but hey man, Sekdo, welcome. It's we're talking about crazy Twitch streamers and people and whatever else. I don't quite know. While I'm trying to paint things in a at least a reasonable manner. That's my issue. Okay, that's why you look funky. I'm being quite busy nowadays. I got someone to stay job at ripe age of 26. Oh, not bad. Well, you're younger than me, man. I'm 29, soon to be 30 in a month. Just about. Yay. Middle age. But yes, I'll stay in the winter. It's a seasonal one. Well, at least it's something. Seasonal ones are a good way to get a foot in the door. Give me a sec. Got an eyelash in my eye or something. Yeah, there we are. Yeah, no, it's I technically you could go that way, but I don't quite see it that way. Well, yes, no, it's what I'm learning is well, running into is your time is very limited, very limited. So make use of it while you can. So I'm gonna try and move out Texas, see what's up there, and see what all that entails, and try something. So I'm gonna be trying some things, see a life has in store, because I keep thinking on this, and I probably will until even after I move there. Was this a good idea? Should I have done this? But I feel if I stay here, it'll be a very stagnant life. And so I want to try and do something different, something else. Alright, so, and then thumb there somewhere. I'll have to look into that a little better. So yeah. Do and regret rather than be afraid of changing the status quo, I think. Yeah. That's what I keep running into. Because some of my best moments were when I did something really bizarre and strange. Yeah, it's a hard feeling to fight, because you don't want to do something extremely dangerous and unoptimal, because that's not the best way to go about things, right? But at the same time, doing the same old, because I've been running into that myself here. It's just wake up, stream, go to work, come back, wake up, stream, go to work, come back, and just not much changes. Especially in such a small town. Oh, though a odd happenstance did happen yesterday. Apparently, a customer came in wanting a thumb drive to transfer a video file to from security cameras, because they caught video of this guy in a high-speed chase, pulled a U-turn on Main Street, and was like going into oncoming traffic or some such, and had cops chasing him, and this is not working out. There we are. And so yeah, we had apparently a high-speed chase in town the other day. We didn't know anything about it until she came and talked to us. So that was quite literally the highlight of the day, the biggest thing that happened. And we don't know what it was. But yeah, it's not that crime and stuff are all that interesting, but just nothing quite happens here. This community I'm in is a retirement community. It's very much governed by the more senior citizens, and it's a calm, simple little place that a lot of people come into, be with nature, all that kind of stuff. But it's a horrible place to grow, because there's not a lot here. And that's what I'm running into. I think I've hit my stagnation point. I can potentially do more, but currently I'm working at Radio Shack with no real ideas for promotion. I'm quite literally the only guy in this line of work, and I'll be the only one for some time. But just, and it'll be safe. I know for a fact if I don't leave for Texas, I can have this job until I screw up something horrible. And even then, I'll probably get a warning or something like that. Not that I'm ever going to do that, but I do such a good job. I'm literally getting word of mouth from people, customers asking for me specifically to fix their shit. I'm not kidding you. I get people like, I want you to fix this. I heard you do such a good job. Can you fix this? I can try. But that makes it so much harder to move. But yeah, it's but then there's the using that stupid quote, the law of equivalent exchange. In order to gain something, you first have to give up something. And I'm giving up this area for a new area, something with potentially more potential. I don't know. It's just this whole situation is weird for me. I don't quite know what to make of it. because there's a chance and a risk of complete and utter homelessness. Back out on the streets, lose all my shit, things like that. But still gonna give it a shot, because there's also the potential finding absolutely wonderful people, wonderful place to be, all this kind of stuff. There's always a chance for that. And so I'd like to bet on that chance that something good will happen. Let no bad happen. Wish Radio. And 10 points to anybody who gets that reference. But yeah, it's just, why is it 2020 of all years? So like any planets that you have, 2020 has shot every single one of them to dust. Shit. But yeah, and currently I'm still debating this aspect, but I'm planning a move at the end of November, which is after the election, which is gonna probably be the most pivotal election in history to date. And depending on the outcome, potentially a very violent one as well. Nope, don't get the reference. It's from a movie I watched as a kid called We're Back. This scientist developed a time machine, and he developed a wish radio, which can hear the dreams and wishes of little kids. And one of the things that kids wished for the most were dinosaurs. So he went back in time to go get dinosaurs and then smarten them up and bring them back into the modern age. The modern age being like the 90s. And during one of the final scenes of the movie, thank you. I heard that. Thank you. Thank you for the subscription. Thank you. Wow, cool. More subscriptions. It's still weird. People pay to see me. That's still such a weird thought to me. Because, to be frank, I don't do that for other people, because I'm saving up for a move, and I need every dollar I've got just to make sure I don't end up without a home or a job or something. Best chances for survival, I guess is one way to put it. But yeah, thank you for that. And the movie, near the end of it, the pivotal scene between kid and the evil guy doing stuff. The guy comes in and saves the day and whatnot, and he's like, "What are you doing here?" "Well, I heard your wish. Such a wonderful wish of let no bad happen." This little girl wished to let no bad happen. That was her wish, and so he did his best to let no bad happen. It's a simple little innocent wish. PayPal. It's weird. There's a lot of different ways to pay people, but they're all weird. If you guys have any preferences for ways to pay me, let me know. I'll try and work with you. Currently, all I got is like Coffee, Twitch, PayPal, I guess. But if you want to use some other system, let me know and I'll see what I can do. Or if you want me to try and promote another system that you would prefer, stuff like that. Alright. So, yeah, you would be over there, wouldn't you? Well, let's just draw it in anyway. The tiara goes around it. We'll have the tiara go around it. Yeah, this is definitely without a reference button. I don't quite know how well this will turn out. But that's part of the thing. This is an experiment in how things work. was Weirback. That was a movie I watched a fair amount as a kid. It even has a clown in it. A very lovable clown. A lot of his jokes went over my head, but he was a good guy. And it's a good-natured movie. There is a good guy and a bad guy, but there's no real... it goes over a lot of difficult concepts as a kid, and I don't think I quite grasped some of them when I was younger, but it was still a very good movie. Yay, clowns. Yeah, the clown is the story that we're back. How it works is this kid's running away to join the circus, and he's trying to join the circus, and meets up these dinosaurs along the way. They get dropped into like the middle of Central Park, and like he's like, "Oh my God, dinosaurs! Hey, stick with me. You'll be okay." And that's how he becomes friends with like dinosaurs. And he thinks, "Hey, this might help me get in the circus." Stuff like that. Anyway, they get there and they meet this clown, and it's the circus is Screwwise Eccentric Circus, I think is the name of it, if I'm remembering it correctly. And the screw eye because he literally has a screw in his eye and lost it because of something or other. And it's a circus designed around fear and horror. So instead of being amazed at all the acrobatic feats, you're horrified of like all these death-defying stunts that barely make it out, and monsters and stuff like that, where the dinosaurs come back in. Anyway, this clown guy, he's there, some things, Hardships of the World. This kid series called My Teacher is an Alien. I know of a book series that was like, My Gym Teacher's Frankenstein, The Janitor is a Vampire, things like that. That might be the series. I don't think I ever read any of those, but I would always see them in like the Scholastic Book Fair stuff. If that's the one I'm thinking of. The one I read most often was actually Captain Underpants, being the superhero that he is. That series went in weird directions. Potentially, yes. Yeah, the ones that I do remember reading as a kid were the Wayside Story at schools. It wasn't years later until I realized that the name was Sideways. But Sideways. The story for that series was, it's originally the school was a one-floor classroom with 30 rooms in it. Each class gets a different room, but they built the building sideways, so instead of being one story and 30 rooms, it was 30 stories with one room on each floor. And so kids had to do it, go to school like that. And it was very silly and very, very crazy. And there was like one janitor in the whole building, and he had to climb up all the stairs, go up and clean the rooms and all that stuff. But there was one chapter I remember, it was like, they finally introduced elevators, but the principal didn't want us like abusing it, and he wanted a simple system for everybody to work with. So, the red elevator goes up, and the blue elevator goes down. That way you know what to do. They ran once, never worked again, because they hit the top floor and the bottom floor, and they couldn't go back the way they were. Because they only go up, or they only go down. So, kids didn't have an elevator again. And there was like one, like the 13th floor was actually missing, but there were actually students in there, and they were wondering why nobody was interacting with them. It was apparently like the hidden 13th floor, but it was almost like a ghost story. Like, why don't people see us? And all sorts of crazy, ridiculous shenanigans happened in that school. And that was one of the series I read. It was pretty silly and funny. All sorts of stuff like that. You know, I kind of do miss some of those kids' books. Reading them nowadays, I'd probably be able to point out how simple and cliche like everything is. But at the same time, it might be fun to go back and read some of that stuff. I don't know. But it's... yeah, kids' books and kids' stories are very interesting. Well, some of them can be. Some of them are really stupid. One of the other series I used to read was Magic Treehouse, I think it was. They'd open up a book and the world around them would change into that story. And like ninjas at nighttime, or like Amazon in the afternoon, turtles on Tuesday, stuff like that. It's worse than I expected. Yeah, it's you run into that, and people grow up, and like childish things. Well, they may not be as you remember. They at least gave you memories that you can carry with you. But yeah, it's like the age. You can't quite plan for that. But it is sad when like things age poorly. It's like, I don't know. It's like, there's also the Bernstein Bears books. Those were ones that used to read. They were like all over the place too. Yeah, Bernstein Bears. It's like a bunch of this bear family going off on weird, crazy misadventures. And you know what? Maybe. No, they're not here. They're in there somewhere. I might be able to pull out some of them. They're very silly little kids books, and you could read it like night or something like that. Oh, that might be. Yeah. Watch the shows. Yeah, it's so yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, that was pretty popular back in the day. But they've aged a little bit. And my grandma, when I went to her place, they used to have these Disney storybooks. I've never quite run into them elsewhere. But just a sec. One of them I really vaguely remember was about Mickey outsmarting a giant. I think they were like fables redone in the Disney series. And like how Mickey was able to squeeze water from a stone by tricking the giant into thinking the cheese wheel was a stone. And getting him to just surrender or something like that. And odd little bits like that. Just I really hate it when it like runs out right at the end. It's not even funny to mock it. Yeah, it's the strangest thing is none of that was needed. It's one thing to maybe change it up and maybe adapt it to a movie or something, or change some of this stuff. But it's another to make just something so beyond what the original material is. It's like I don't understand what some of the meaning behind it is. Why are you like that? But yeah, it's I've seen some of the videos on the Art of Spell comparisons to what they've done wrong, and it's like, yeah, they absolutely butchered that. It's that's enough for the remakes, but The thing is, they could quite literally do a copy paste and it would do better. Less work, less effort, and more money for it. But no, they had to go out of their way to change it so dramatically and fail so hard. It's like they had to work. They had to actively choose to be that bad. I can't make any comments on the Mulan movie because I haven't seen it, nor do I plan to. So I don't know what they screwed up there, but I don't believe it's any good. You can't just not make as much money. Well, the thing is, there are easier, more effective ways of making money than what they've chosen to do. And it's just... And I have the hiccups. Why do you have to do that? It's like, literally, people would be happy if you took the original and did a one-for-one in the remake. That would be good enough for a lot of people. But no, we can't do that. That's too easy. We gotta change it up. We gotta do this and that. Why? For what purpose? Yeah, I think one of the reasons the Artemis Fowl book was changed so much is that the I think it was the director, potentially the producer. Didn't believe the child audiences would understand or like a criminal mastermind character, an antagonistic hero. And everyone's going, the book's literally sold off that premise. They made millions of dollars off of that idea to children. So the fact that you're changing it because you don't think children would enjoy it because they can't understand it is bullshit. An actual villain he was in the books. Yeah, it's like... And that's the difference between simplification and dumbing down. In that situation, they dumbed down Artemis Fowl to be more easily absorbed by children. When the Artemis Fowl for the books, I'm going to assume, was a simplification of the character. They didn't necessarily go into all the reasons why. I'm just going to assume on this part. I have not read the books. I'm going to assume they simplified some of the concepts to be a supervillain, criminal mastermind or whatnot, and to the point where a child could understand it, while the movie tried to dumb it down so that they would be able to understand it. Just the standard hero, yeah. It's just, and it's people like that. They just don't understand. It's one thing to not understand why a person is something is popular or successful or liked, but some of those things, Artemis is an example of they didn't even try to understand. Nobody's gonna like this. He needs to be like this. No, you don't understand. I'm not even gonna listen to you. I'm gonna do it this way. They didn't say it that way, but I can see that mindset going through. Let's kidnap a person and ask for a ransom into... Now they're coming from my family. Yeah, it's just... And the more you have to change, the more you have to alter it, and the more you have to change it into something it never was meant to be. Yeah, one of my personal grievances with an example like that was the movie Eragon. Boy, was that a mess. Because me and my family had some good times with that book. Yeah, back when we first moved here, we didn't have any power, no running water, no electricity, and so we didn't really have much to do, but we had some books. And so during the evenings, we'd kind of gather around by a campfire and read books. And we read the Harry Potter series and the Eragon series to the current one at the time, which I think was the second one, maybe? something like that. And so those books held a bit of a place in my heart because of that stuff. And then the movie ignored everything that the book was about and turned it into some random thing where they shoehorned famous quotes into the movie and they didn't make sense. They had no place, but they put it there because they thought they needed to. But they didn't understand why it was there in the first place. I think that's just the biggest difference between any of these movie producers and the like. If you can see somebody who tries to understand what a character or a book or a series is about, those are the ones you want to try and promote, as opposed to ones who just, yeah, it's a comic book, make flashy light shows, and then we call it a day, right? Alright. Main hair is done, and that is wrong. Gotta put that back up. No, it looks like I missed a piece of skin there. No, I got that. I just need the tiara then. Oh yeah, the tiara. What's the same color as the hair? Give me a sec. Just about. But yeah, it's making an effort to understand a character, making an effort to understand why things are the way they are, will mean the world to people, as opposed to just running things off of business. And it goes back to what I was talking about before. It's like we take item A that is popular and item B that is popular, put them together, and we will have people who are fans of A and people who are fans of B, and it'll be a net plus, right? From a business standpoint, that makes sense. From a realistic standpoint, it does not. You cannot merge two things without alienating somebody. Because, yeah, they go, well, kids don't like super villains. They like superheroes. We need to make a hero. And kids like this Artemis Fowl book, so therefore, we'll make a good guy hero, and an Artemis Fowl will get both people to like it. Go with that. And they make a decision based off numbers and polls and graphs, and not item C. Yeah, they don't try to understand it. They just look at it from a numerical standpoint. They don't look at it from a point of understanding. And the other aspect is, I see it. There are people who work on films or shows or games who want to do something proper, want to do it accurately, but then the higher ups say, no, they don't let them. It's like, I wanted to try and be a good actor for it. I wanted to try and make a good game level for it. I tried to be accurate to the book, but I wasn't allowed to. I think that's the big problem with a lot of it. Is just people who want to make a difference aren't able to. And people who can make a difference don't care. That'll be nice when that all changes up. And then you have the other unfortunate aspect of, mainly with music, Disney, and game companies, where people make really effective fan creations and works of art, or they recreate the entirety of the level as painstakingly as possible in another engine, and they get taken down. Or a fan made version of a movie, Disney, take it down. They just, and that honestly is one that just boggles my, okay, different item. It boggles my mind. It's sad when people don't care. Yeah. From working for them, isn't they fun to watch? Just in your mind if you're done watching them. Yeah, it's yeah. From a business marketing standpoint, it's all about the formula and the numbers. This was popular, therefore keep doing more of it. But people are tired of it. Keep doing more of it. It's popular. No, it's not. You don't quite understand it. But yeah, you do something popular, and you keep doing that. You keep doing that until it doesn't make money anymore. Then you abandon it. That's what Activision and EA did. They run something into the ground until it couldn't possibly make any more money. Then they just straight up abandoned it, even though it was a beloved series, and they killed it for a multitude of reasons. But yeah. But yeah, it's when like fans try and make something, it's like fans are trying to show how good, how impressive, how awesome something is. They put their heart and soul into something, and yes, technically it is not their IP. They don't own the rights to the said item. But when companies go full on burn the witch for a fan, that sets a very, very poor precedent for everybody else. What I don't ever get is, why don't they like hire those people and then have them make something for them? Because I think actually Sega with the Sonic series is starting to do that. Sega, I think I saw an article a while back about this guy who was a very well-known Sonic fan artist. Eventually got a job at Sega Studios making Sonic promotional artworks. And that's the way to work with your fans. That's how you do better. Not by shutting them down, but by joining them. Because there's other examples of like Nintendo, where I think the most recent one I can remember is Super Metroid 2 or something. Where this guy recreated the entirety of like a Game Boy only version of Super Metroid, something like that, onto PC as a fan work. Updated the graphics, painstakingly went over everything, and Nintendo said, nope, can't do that, shut it down. Why? He literally made a game for you. If you wanted to, he could probably just, if you asked him, he'd probably let you sell it. But no, they shut it all down. No fan art, no none of this. We only want it this way or that way. And so it's just so backwards. Oh, Capcom. What example is that one? I'm not doubting you. I'm just curious as to what happened. Yeah. New Super Mario Classic. Yes. Nintendo, yeah. Yeah, I paid him for his game. Yeah, it's backwards. They only ever tend to see the option of shut everything else down, as opposed to let's use that to our advantage. It's like a simple concept that they don't seem to grasp. It's just so weird. Resident Evil, really? Capcom, Resident Evil 2. I did not know that. Is that what the remakes were for? Huh. I did not know that. But yeah, it's like stuff like that. And now the Resident Evil 2, that series took off. And I know it did. It's like people have become very interested in those ones. And they hired him out too. And see, that's the way to do it. Another one was an odd example, but Valve. In the early games, like Half-Life and Counter-Strike, you could mod the games and get different skins and weapons and all sorts of stuff, and you could... Hell, Gary's mod is literally a mod of the game that became its own game. I said game a lot. And that wouldn't have happened if they didn't allow fan-made content to come out. But now, if you do make fan-made content, it has to be monetized, has to be this. It's like, it's a different mindset. And see, look, like that concept, that simple thought of getting these guys who made a fan game and hiring them to make an official game, you don't have to do the work. You hire somebody who's motivated and wants to do a good job, you know will do a good job, and gives you a product everybody enjoys. It's a win-win for literally everybody. Nobody loses. I actually do too. So, well, thank you for reminding me. Before I leave though, let's, if you want, take a look. I didn't quite do much today, but, we'll see what we got. I did a lot of outline, touching up on some of the, background picture, and then I did her hair. Gonna have to figure out how to redo the hair, the ponytails, and the gloves. But yeah, not a lot of progress. I'm gonna have to go back and redo the skirt because I forgot the bow. I was just gonna put the bow right there, but no, that's not where it goes. It goes underneath the skirt, or on top of it, and you flip it upside down. It goes underneath, which would create a little bump, and so I gotta fix that. Or I could just ignore it and just say it's good. Anyway, have a good day, everybody. Take care. I'm actually gonna probably catch some sleep, so have a good one. See you later. I'll finish this eventually.